Hello, everyone. Welcome to Patron Hangout number 185. This is criminal profiler Pat Brown, and welcome everybody who is in the chat room. And if you'd like to be in the chat room, click on the link below in the description and join Patreon. And if you don't want to do that, that's perfectly fine. Please do at least subscribe to the channel if you like my stuff. Check my playlists. Okay. I may be a little out of sorts at the moment. Lesnich is here, Cauliflower is here, Cheryl Smith is here, Jennifer is now here. We've got a full chat room. I think I've said hello to everybody else so far. Yes, I am a little out of sorts because I just got reported to the police for committing a crime. And I kid you not. I mean, yeah, so I've been in discussion right now with local police as to the crime I committed. People are nuts. Okay, so yeah. What? Yes, I've committed a crime. You might see this on probably on TikTok because a woman actually videoed me, because everybody videos everybody these days. So here's what happened, and I want to warn you about this because I've gotten some good instructions as if this ever happens again. So because I really never have had this happen to me, so I was in the moment I didn't know what the hell I was supposed to do. So let me explain to you, and then you can tell me your thoughts on this. Okay, so I picked my granddaughter from school, and she got a little snack, an ice cream, and I pulled into the local store, a small store, a health food store, to get some olive oil because I ran out. Okay, so I pulled into a space with my little Mazda, my little Mazda, and pulled straight into the space. I came in from the other, where you pull through, right? Pull through, so right in the middle of that space, pulled through. But next to me was this big ass SUV, one of these big SUVs that pretty much took up the entire space. And as I got out, as I opened the door and tried to get out, my door tapped that vehicle. Now I say tapped because it only tapped. It didn't strike the vehicle. It didn't smash the vehicle. It didn't whack the vehicle. It tapped the vehicle. And I knew it tapped the vehicle because I was trying to get out. It was like a really condensed space. And so I shut my door, and I didn't realize anybody was in the vehicle. So as I walked forward, a woman started screaming at me, "You hit my car! You hit my car!" And I stopped because I said, "I do apologize. I was trying to get out. It was a very narrow space, and my door it tapped your vehicle. It didn't hit your vehicle. And I did look to see if there was any damage. I wanted to make sure that I hadn't done something." Even though it was just a tap, was there anything I had done? Because I'm an honest person. And I said, there's nothing there. There's no scratch or anything. And she goes, "How dare you?" She starts shrieking at me. So I'm walking into the store because my granddaughter's eating her ice cream. And I'm walking toward the store, just right there. It's a small store. And she's still shouting at me from the car. "How dare you? I said, "Look, I've apologized. There's no damage. So, hey, So I went into the store. I buy my olive oil. Go through a checkout. I come out. I look over. The vehicle is gone. All right. So I start walking toward my car. And this woman pops out. She's moved her vehicle to another location. She starts shrieking at me, has her phone out. She's, "How dare you? You hit my car." Blah, blah, blah. She's going nuts on me. And she's scary. She's 40-ish, big. And I'm a grandmother. But these days, apparently, elders do not matter anymore. And she's following me. And then she says, "I want exchange insurance stuff." And I would have stopped and done that. Had she said, can you, if she had been pleasant and said, "Can you come over and look at this? There's a scratch on my car," or whatever, I would have done that. But she was threatening, and she was stalking me and threatening me. And I'm like, there's nothing wrong with your vehicle. And I kept going toward my car because my granddaughter was in there, and I wanted to get away from this woman because you never know these days when you're going to get assaulted when you have an enraged person for no reason whatsoever. Then she said, "I'm calling the police." So I'm like, whatever. And I got in my vehicle and drove away. I have now been informed what I should have done was immediately turned back and gone in the store, except my granddaughter was out there, and I could have then called the police myself. So anyway, I get home. She did call the police. And she claimed I had committed a hit and run. They did laugh at her, so that was useful. And apparently, they sent a picture over, and there is a supposed scratch. They said it's so small. Now, first of all, it may not be anything I did to her vehicle, because there's no evidence it was from my vehicle to her vehicle. And the guy said you could buff it out in like 3 seconds. So I don't know whether I'll be going to prison. But this is a really interesting problem, because if the woman had simply said, "Hey, can we go look? Hey, did you hit my car? Can I get?" If she got and I said, "Can we go? Can we look to make sure there's no damage?" I would have said, "Sure, let's go and take a look." I would have done that, but she was already screaming and yelling at me and threatening me, and then she's stalking me. And what am I supposed to do? So I fled the scene because I wanted to protect myself and my granddaughter and get the hell out of there. And when you have irrational people these days, you don't know if they're going to assault you. You don't know if they're going to pull a gun on you or a knife on you. You just don't know. And she was 40 and I'm near 70. I'm 69, almost 70 in a few months. So, it's like, apparently grandmothers she's like, had no concern for me or my granddaughter sitting there in the car. So I was concerned enough about her. Yes, I've had some, martial arts training in my history, but I did not have a weapon on me and haven't used martial arts in years. And she was really bigger than me. So could I protect myself? Could I protect my granddaughter? Even if I got in my car and started calling the police, she could, she's right there. It's a really weird situation, and I've never experienced this before. And I'm like, what the heck? So we have a kind of a new attitude in town where people get very, very angry and violent very quickly over extraordinarily minor issues. Like, if you have that big an SUV, park a damn SUV away from where people pull in all the time, because at some point they're going to hit your car. Somebody's door is going to hit your car. Park farther out in the parking lot where nobody's going to be there. That's what you do. Otherwise, you're going to have to assume that at some point somebody's going to hit your car with their door. So anyway, yeah. Please reference your age as a number between 68 and 70. 69 and, wait a minute, March, April, May, June. 69 and 7 months. Does that help you out? I don't mind being this age, but it is a weird thing where you kind of expect in societies, they should respect elders. They should respect, quote, grandmotherly type people, unless they're bringing drugs into the country. And then stop saying, grandma brings drugs into the country and they're still being so mean to her. No, she's a drug trafficker. Kill the, I don't care what age she is. People have been shot in Germany in disputes over a parking space. And that is what's happening here too. So the fear is, do I stay around to then deal with everything, or do I get the hell out of there before my granddaughter gets harmed or myself gets harmed? It's unbelievable. Yeah, she must be disturbed. She was disturbed over her SUV, which obviously did cost a lot of money. I'm not arguing that. And if I had truly smashed her SUV, she had ample time to examine it to see if I dented it. And she had just said to me, "Come and look." I would have looked, but there was no dent. It didn't exist. And I don't even know that the scratch that she claims exists had anything to do with me. And it was so minor, they said they could buff it. So it's like, it makes no sense, but to treat people like that. I mean, I had a guy who hit me. He hit me in a parking lot. And I've actually been hit twice. Once some guy hit me in the back and I just let him go. And the other time they hit me on the side and I just let that go. I said, we'll just knock that out. My car's 10 years old. I've already had 100 and some thousand miles on it. It's only a minor dent. I'm not going to ruin your life. Because he was standing there with his little kids. And I'm like, so, I mean, I didn't get mad about being dented twice. So anyway, that's my experience. So now I'm a criminal, apparently. Lord God. Leshnu says, I recently got my license and I worry about this. People get so angry, even if you're just a little slower than experienced drivers. There's a lot of road rage and parking rage out there. Did she post? What did she post? I don't know yet, DV, but she was filming, which also is disgusting to me. Because it's it's taking it to an extreme where you want to embarrass somebody in public, because that's what exactly I'm sure what she was trying to do. I don't know whether she's going to put it on any social media site. Might show up. I don't think I embarrassed myself in any terrible way, but I might have looked like crap. I was jumping in the car, going up, picking up my granddaughter, but do I want it on social media? No. Do I ever video people on social media? No. Maybe I should have videoed her shrieking at me and threatening. I could have charged her with, stalking and threatening, which was reasonable because she is bigger than me, stronger than me, and therefore I have a reason to feel fear, and she shouldn't have done what she did. So I could have, but I just wanted to get the hell out of there. Some stripes like a zebra. Well, I'll put a zebra on for you. Did she no, blah. Believe me, no. I'm sure she doesn't watch my show. I'm sure she has no idea who I am. And to her, I was probably just an old lady in the parking lot that she was pissed at because she could be. Yeah. No, I don't think so. I always pull my phone out if somebody's rude to me. I just didn't. I was just trying to get to my car and get my granddaughter out of there. I wasn't trying to cause a problem. I would have stopped and exchanged all that information with her if she hadn't been threatening. But we shall see how this all ends up. At least the police laughed at the hit and run, so I don't think I'll see the inside of a prison cell. But the insurance issues is another matter. I don't know whether she's going to pull something out that's just crazy. But yeah, it's very disturbing. People behaving like that. Yeah, that's absolutely true. Someone's always looking for a payday and a reason to sue. It's so sad because other people have to survive too. And she could look at me and say, hey, she doesn't know if this woman is like just living on from Social Security to Social Security check would be very low. And yet you want to take her down. It's just, I don't understand that crap. That's why I say I walked away from 2 accidents and I'm like, yeah, whatever. My car's old. I'm not going to, cost you a lot of money for you, because I saw the guy with like, kids and stuff. I'm like, it wasn't that big a deal to me. So I'm like, yeah, whatever. It wasn't my fault. It was their fault. But no, if somebody had done massive damage, that's a whole nother matter, but something like that. Thank you very much. We are okay. I'm just now a criminal, apparently. Okay, let's get to other crimes besides mine. Okay. All right. Let's see what I want to talk about. Just to mention, I have a new channel, Dear Profiler Pat, and I am happy to say that I finally have reached 1,000 subscribers. It took me like freaking 5 months. You have to have 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours in order to be monetized. I'm still 300 hours short on monetizing because of the watch hours. I'll probably take a week or 2 more. And then after 6 months, I can finally get monetized. What does that mean? It means that I might make $5 a month, $20 a month. I don't know if this channel, I do enjoy doing it, which is, I do enjoy it. So I'm hoping that it will at least be something that, I like doing it anyway. I do a couple, shows a week. It's fun. I like answering people's questions. They're, asking for advice. I like doing that. If it ever ends up earning me a couple $100 a month, I guess I might be happy. But yes, it's always tough becoming. Cat update. That cat was a jerk last night, Christoph. The cat suddenly won't sleep in his bed anymore. He doesn't sleep on my floor anymore. He just comes in, eats his food, licks the food off my hand, the wet food, then looks at me, gives me the stink eye, and walks away. He does allow me to walk around now, but he's been in kind of a jerk mood. So I'm going to be patient and see if he comes out of the jerk mood. But he is a jerk. Criminal profiler, felon Pat. Yeah, I tell you. Well, I guess Royal Watcher just rolled in to find out, that I didn't get arrested yet. But hi, Princess. Okay, so now I want to talk about Hold on a second. Okay, where am I at? Okay, let's talk about, how about Scott Peterson? Scott Peterson. Now, he was supposedly beaten up recently. Let me find the thing on Scott. Poor Scott. We feel so sad about him. No, we don't. But where'd he go? Sorry, hold on a second. What? Oh, I've already lost my pictures. I tell you, what happened to my Scott Peterson? Seriously? Okay. Everybody takes a shot when I lose my stuff, but really, it was here before it was. Okay, hold on a second. Now nothing works. I tell you, this is going to be my day. How can it disappear? And why is my... Hold on a second. Let me do my phone because nothing's working here. I may join Scott in his cell pretty soon. Okay. Pickleball. He supposedly is playing pickleball, which I thought was really freaking interesting. Let's see. The story that the guy gave about why he beat up Scott while they were playing pickleball. He says it was, oh, for God's sakes, that's why it went away. It's because it's one of these, it blocked me. So I'll have to go to a different one. So convicted murderer Scott Peterson just got a little worse. He got reportedly beat up last week, and now we're hearing from the inmate. Supposedly, the inmate was 39 years old and was some kind of gangbanger. And he was walking along a recreation path and was unaware of a pickleball game going on nearby. Well, it's nice that you get to play pickleball in prison. Now, that's pretty cool. I will say I'm not against that. I actually prefer, a lot of the guys do weights, and that's supposedly something really cool for prisoners, that they can build muscles and all that. I always think they shouldn't be doing that in prison, because that's what I think it does is it encourages that kind of, I think it's better they play table tennis and pickleball and do yoga. I think that once you go to prison, you should do peaceful things and not things that are super muscle building. That's just my personal opinion. So I go for yoga, pickleball, and table tennis. So I'm not against pickleball, but it's nice that he gets to play pickleball. So he supposedly, the recreation path. I'm like, how big is this recreation path? He's walking along this recreation path, unaware of a pickleball game going on nearby, or that an errant ball had just flown past him. First of all, a pickleball ball is not. It's a little. It's like a wiffle ball. It's plastic. It's not all that big a deal. And then he says he saw an individual he didn't recognize charging toward him with a potential weapon, a pickleball paddle, which I play pickleball. That is not the biggest weapon in the world. I mean, if you get hit with a pickleball paddle, you'll probably survive, because sometimes when you're playing pickleball, somebody might hit you in the face with it. It doesn't feel good, but it's not like you're getting hit with a baseball bat. And he reacted and turned with force. It triggered a primal urge in me. That's when I just took fight on him, and I beat the living F out of him. And then he heard somebody shout, "Hey, that's the baby killer," which he is. But it's not clear if that happened before, during, or after the beating. Miles, the guy who beat him up, is apparently God-fearing now, if still known to be violent in prison. I fear God, but I do sometimes beat people, but then pray, I guess. He is from Richmond and was convicted in 2007 of a gangland-rated murder in Pinole. God made this happen. Miles told the Chronicle in the interview, it was God's plan for sure. He went on to explain that the beating took place in the same spot that he had stopped to pray earlier. This is just funny. Miles is not up for parole until 2031, and Peterson continues to serve his life sentence for his murders of his wife, Lacey Peterson, and his unborn son, Christmas of 2002. Of course, the Los Angeles Innocence Project is trying to get him out, blah, blah, blah. And so they're arguing for the new trial. Now, I just want to mention one thing here. I actually have more sympathy for the gangbanger who killed another gangbanger. So, in other words, a bad guy killed a bad guy, and he gets this life term. Scott Peterson killed a totally innocent woman and a baby. I'm going to say, I think Scott Peterson is a worse of a devil than the gangbang dude, because he ended up being part of whatever he was involved in, whatever gang he was into, and they're always, you're in my territory, stuff like that. You're all vying for territory and shooting at each other. So if one of you gets clipped, oh well. I don't terribly feel sorry for either party. Do I think that person's violent, should get a prison sentence? Sure I do. But which one do I think is actually a worse human being? It would be Scott Peterson. Because in cold blood, he determined he was going to kill a beautiful young woman, his own wife, who was pregnant with his own baby. That's a nasty psychopath if I ever think of a nasty psychopath. The gangbanger, I'm like, at least he killed another gangbanger. So, but I do think the story is pretty funny. And do I think he's found Jesus? No, I don't. Oh my God. Yeah, I always think that if you're in prison, everything that you do should be positive. You should not see any violent movies. You should see only pleasant movies. All the books provided to you should be fine literature and stuff like that. I think you should do art is fine with me, and peaceful type of physical activities. I think those should be what you do. Anything that has nothing to do with the kind of life you lived on the outside, to bring a peaceful life to you. Now, if you have a chance of getting out of prison because maybe you're not in there for like serial homicide or something, then these things I think can calm you down and then make you a better person before you hit the outside. But somehow we have prisons that look like, a lot of times the problem is we have people in prison who are simply horrible, violent, vicious psychopaths. So that is problematic. But I think we should be able to separate those people out in some way and provide the safest and most peaceful activities possible. Yeah. Yeah. Jen and Austin Book Club. There we go. I like it. Yoga and meditation. Why not? If you have failed on the outside to be a peaceful person, why shouldn't that be what you should be, focused on? Absolutely. Clearly, pickleball might be considered aggressive now. I mean, some people have been hit with a pickleball racket. The nicest thing about pickleball, like table tennis, is when you get hit with a ball, it's something you survive. It's, you don't get hit that hard. Both are great sports. I'd play both of them. But yeah, sometimes if you're playing doubles, then you have the other person who can whack you with a racket on your side of the net. Even in table tennis, you can get injured by your partner because they trip you up or something, and you can crash to the ground, or get hit with a table tennis paddle. So the biggest problem is your double mate. If you're playing singles, you're pretty much good unless you trip. The biggest danger we have on both table tennis and pickleball, if you're playing by yourself, is that if you run backwards as opposed to on an angle, you can catch your heel on the ground and fall. And that's why some seniors who play both of those sports end up with a broken hip, going backwards and catching their heel, and they go down. So I'm not going to get into politics on criminals and voting and all that kind of crap. So let's go on to the poor girl who went missing in Dominican Republic, because I've been asked about that question. So here, let's see, wait a minute, where is it? Here she is, her parents. This is a student, now I'm trying to pronounce her name correctly. Sudiksha Konanki, I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that correctly. Sudiksha Konanki. She's a pre-med student. Went to the Dominican Republic with friends. Unfortunately hooked up, she's had alcohol in her system, I think. Appears, and she's out there late with just one fellow. It was a student she just met down there, a male student. They seemed to be kind of hooking up a little bit, and she disappeared that evening, or that early morning, like 4 or 5 in the morning, and he survived, and he's there, and the question was, did he have anything to do with her disappearance? It looked like she put her shoes under the whatever kind of chair there was there. Put her shoes there, took off, like the wrap she had on, like she was going into the water, as opposed to being attacked. The male student, now, no, let me tell you what the parents say, first of all. So the parents came out and say they believe she drowned. They're saying their heart is broken. They want her to be declared dead. Some people have asked me if this is an Indian kind of thing where they, for whatever reasons, aren't pushing the investigation further into the young man, whether he did something to their daughter or not. I don't see this as an Indian thing. I do not, because I spent a lot of time in India and have a lot of Indian friends and Indian American friends. I don't see that. I think, well, first of all, she's dead, regardless of how she ended up dead. She is dead. They did for 1 second say maybe sex trafficking, not sex trafficking. So that's just stupid beyond belief. People want to say that. I'll get into Natalee Holloway in a second. Natalee Holloway was sex trafficked, also nonsense. But if you're gonna sex traffic out of an island where you have people who are black, brown, dark haired, and certain islands where people are poor, generally speaking, that's who gets sex trafficked, is young women who are like encouraged to come and work in places, and then they're encouraged to get into sex, basically prostitution. A blonde may be more like, oh, there's most girls here are dark haired and she's not, she's a blonde. Okay, so theoretically, but again, I've pointed out this over and over again. There's a lot of blondes who go into prostitution without being kidnapped. So nobody's going to kidnap somebody on vacation, because it makes no sense, because you can get them without kidnapping. And believe me, there's a ton of girls out there with blonde hair who are perfectly happy to get into sex work without the international incident and all the investigation. You don't want, that's the last thing anybody involved in sex trafficking wants, is a huge investigation. It's nonsensical, because it's just one girl. You can get a dozen of them. You don't need to, grab Natalee Holloway. And when you look, now you have here, she's in the Dominican Republic. Yes. Is she Indian descent? Yes. Do I see that she looks Indian as opposed to Dominican? Yes. But is she brown skinned and has dark hair like many Dominicans? Yes. Again, do you kidnap a pre-med student? No. So the parents went there for a second, but then they're like, yeah, that's stupid. But what happened to her? How did she end up? Clearly not alive. Okay. And I'm not saying unalived. I'm just saying she's not alive because her body has not been found. So she didn't walk off and hide in a cave. Okay. She clearly somehow ended up in that water and is not alive. So therefore, they want her, which is interesting. They have the ability to actually accept that she has died, which is interesting, because a lot of parents will claim that their child has been sex trafficked for the purposes of believing their child is alive for the next 20 years. Because they prefer to, in their mind, if they can't see the body of their child, they'd rather envision their child somehow as still out there, and one day their child will walk back into their life. Oh yeah, maybe they've been in think about it. Maybe they've been, I don't know, in somebody's basement for the last 20 years, being tortured and raped every day. But hey, that's better than they're dead. I'm not so sure. So, but parents are funny that way. But these Indian parents apparently they recognize the reality, and they're like, okay, we know our daughter's gone. It's a very sad, extremely sad interview that they gave, which they're like, we know. And now, mind you, they're not saying the investigation shouldn't continue. I think people are mistaking that. What they're basically saying is, we want her pronounced dead, because then there's only two possibilities. She drowned on her own, or this young man who was with her caused her to end up dead. Which one is it? What bothers me about the young man, people say he's changed his story a number of times. I don't know how accurate all of that is. He was drunk. She was supposedly drunk. Don't know the reality there. But I don't have the police interviews. I don't have all the documentation as to when he was interviewed, how he was interviewed, what he said under what conditioning. So the latest story that I've heard, he states that they went into the surf. They're playing around, having fun, kissing, just being in the water, and this big, huge wave hits them and knocks them down. He manages to save her, he says, and get her to knee depth, and then he starts throwing up. So he staggers out, throws up, and sort of passes out. And when he wakes up, she's not there. So he assumes that she just went back. Now, I have a few problems with the story. Why? One, he's a lifeguard. Dude's a lifeguard. As far as that's what I read. He's a lifeguard. First of all, a lifeguard should know better than to ever have a person who may not be capable of dealing with a rough surf. You don't take them and put them in a rough surf because, even as a lifeguard, it's hard to save people. So that's one thing. Secondly, supposedly they have told the family that there can be rough surf and can be, I guess, something you were unaware of and looked pretty good for a while. So you got in up to your knees and then got hit by this thing and sucked in. It's possible. It's possible, which is why I think the family's willing to say, okay, maybe that's what happened. Maybe this guy's totally innocent. But first of all, a lifeguard shouldn't be bringing, but then again, he's a drunk lifeguard. Okay. He's trashed out of his mind. Is he the proper gentleman? No, he is not. A proper gentleman would never have taken her into the water and taken that risk. But, he's also a kid, essentially, a student. And God knows, I don't know what kind of lifeguard he was. He could have been lifeguarding at a pool where he hardly had to do anything. And he's drunk. If she's drunk, and we don't know that we just don't know how much alcohol was in her system and how much was in his system. But so he says they got in there, this wave hits, and he gets her out to about up to her knees. And then he goes and throws up and doesn't know what happened to her. Well, I'm a little concerned that even if you're throwing up, you don't get the girl out onto the sand where she's safe. And then after you throw up, she supposedly she's already up to her knees and she can't get the rest of the way out. Now it's possible. But then you wake up and her stuff is still there. Her shoes are still there and things are still there. And you think she just walked away. Or is he embarrassed that he acted foolish with her, that he was stupid, went into the water with her, drunk and laughing and joking and kissing, and then this wave hit and he did save her sort of, and then he threw up and then he didn't save her. Maybe damn well knows he didn't save her. She got sucked back in and he was like half out of it and didn't save her, and he doesn't want to admit it. That's possible too. Then is it murder? No. It is an accidental death brought on by foolishness on both parties, and a real damn shame. So I unless I get involved in all the statements to the police, I can't say whether he did anything to her other than not act like a gentleman and be stupidly drunk. So that's where I'd have to leave it. Let the police take care of the rest of it and keep investigating. Did he give the old "I blacked out"? Well, he basically, yes. But have you ever seen people who are that drunk on whatever they're drinking? Yeah, they do sometimes. They're just, so out of it. And that's why his story could have changed as well. Was he a Scott Peterson? I'm sorry, not Scott. Was he a Joran van der Sloot? Joran van der Sloot clearly killed 2 women, including Natalee Holloway. In my belief, he's a violent rapist. If he doesn't get what he wants, he turns violent. My video is on Joran van der Sloot goes into all of that. I believe he got Natalee down to the beach and she said no. And he either smothered her in the sand or beat her, or I don't know what he did to her, because he couldn't get what he wanted, because that's what he did to the other girl and killed her. Do I believe this guy did the same thing as Joran van der Sloot? I don't see any evidence of that. Could it have happened? Yes. Just don't know. Really do not know. Weird that a lifeguard be so careless to drink and then enter the tide. It is weird, but then again, you're talking about alcohol, and alcohol makes you stupid. And people just don't get the level of stupidity alcohol will take you to. Even if you've had some experience and you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. And he's young. Young people do a lot of stupid things. So I can't take that away. Yeah, that is also true. Don't appreciate the power of tides. This is sometimes true. That I mean, I still remember from when I was a teen, I was in Ocean City, Maryland. Yeah, that's where I was. And I was swimming out there, and all of a sudden I was just being pulled farther and farther away. And the problem was, you get farther and farther from, how the land sometimes curves, and I was near the shore, but then as the land curved, I got further and further away. I was going straight, but and I remember fighting and fighting and fighting to get back to shore. I remember crawling up onto the beach, and then my sister was like, "Hey, what's up?" And I'm like, I could have drowned. I could have. Should be a plaque. People don't realize the levels of stupidity alcohol takes you to. It's true. I mean, it is. Secrets. No, I mean, secrets didn't exist when I was that age. My daughter has been to secrets. They like secrets. Secrets is actually very close to where my daughter has a condo in Ocean City, and it's really near Secrets. Mm-hmm. But they take Ubers. They're very smart. They take Ubers to wherever they're going and from wherever they're going. So they don't drive in Ocean City. They take Uber. So, but then again, you can just fall into the water being stupid. You know what I mean? Well, good point. They drink in the water. That's true. Yeah, you drink in the water. So, yeah. Yeah, it's a horrifying shame. Let me talk about let me go to Natalee, just because I'm so annoyed by this whole thing. So, Natalee, let me find this whole thing here on Natalee. I'm really annoyed with Greta Van Susteren, because Greta Van Susteren apparently has a book coming out. And why she's pushing this, I do not know. But let me see if I can find it. Okay. Interesting thing, an AI overview, okay? Artificial intelligence overview on Google. There is no credible evidence or reporting that links Natalee Holloway's disappearance or the case of Joran van der Sloot to sex trafficking, or that Greta Van Susteren was involved in any way. This is clue. There's zero evidence ever that there was any sex trafficking going on. Now, what happened here was, let's see, American TV personality Greta Van Susteren, formerly of Fox News, on the record, and now hosting a similar name program on Newsmax, took particular interest in the case from the start. Competing at her time, she was rivaling Nancy Grace. She gave nearly daily updates on the progress of the investigation of Holloway's disappearance, and eventually inserted herself into them in various ways, which always bothers me when people do that, but they consider themselves journalists and they're going to do investigative journalism. All right. She made an announcement in 2022 that she had received a, quote, key piece of evidence that she had then submitted for lab testing. This evidence apparently included clothing allegedly bearing DNA traces, along with photographs of people with remains alleged to be Holloway's. Several months later, the Aruba prosecutor's office has announced via a statement to the Dutch broadcaster NOS that, quote, persons possibly from South America have, quote, deceived Van Susteren with false information in exchange for payment. All right. So they say they investigated the material. It was meaningless. It did not belong to Holloway. It had nothing to do with Joran van der Sloot and all that kind of stuff. The people that all contacted Van Susteren knew each other, according to the prosecutor's office, and so they were all like in collusion to get something out of her. For her own part, she continues to allege that authorities are bungling the investigation and are not treating the evidence she is sharing with them seriously, including through neglecting to engage at all with other things she claims to have brought to their attention beyond the items debunked above. And she's gone on to Twitter now. This is the most recent Twitter, March 9th. Wait a minute, what day? Yeah, March 19th. That's today. She says, Natalee Holloway's murder by Joran began as human trafficking plan that went south. Zero evidence of this. Aruba and neighboring island Curacao are epicenter of trafficking in girls and women, and dirty cops are part of it. Again, not people visiting the island. We're going to cause an international incident. Not happening with them. Are there some girls who are trafficked because they get into, people bring them into prostitution, say, come here, work at the hotel. And by the way, sure. Holland knows all about this, but ignores it. And she has a book coming out. Not impressed. Not impressed. Joran van der Sloot killed that girl on the beach because he didn't get what he wanted. There is no sex trafficking involved. It's just absolute nonsense. So ridiculous. And if she believes anything Joran van der Sloot says, you're an idiot. He's a pathological liar, will lie every time he opens his mouth in order to gain something for himself. If you believe anything he says, I don't know how you call yourself a journalist if you believe what a psychopathic person like him says. And do you ignore what he did on the second crime? Because that shows exactly what he did on the first crime. He wasn't sex trafficking the second girl either. Absolutely not. Yes, a rage killer. Exactly. He was a bad date rapist. And he did kill 2 women. That doesn't make him a serial killer. It makes him an enraged date rapist. It's pretty unusual, but it is what it is. He didn't pick the girls out to purposely rape and kill them. He picked the girls out to have sex with them. Thought they would just go along with the program, whatever his program was that night. And he gets annoyed when he doesn't get his way. That's what he is. So, yeah, I'm sad too. And I don't know why she's gone that way. I forgot which one it was. There was a whole horrible documentary series where supposedly they've had found bones that were going to be Greta's and turned out to be a dog or something. And it was so ridiculous and so absolutely unethical. But, again, a lot of times people don't care about ethics. So that's the way it is. So, yeah. So anyway, that's her. Yeah, I want to talk about, what do I want to talk about next? Let me hold on a second. Lost my things here. Okay. Lori Daybell. Lori, that people are really annoyed with her for good reason, because there she is. She's now representing herself pro se in her own murdered, in her own defense. Here she is, and she's, oh my goodness, she's really annoying to listen to, and people are really pissed off about that, because we've seen this before, where somebody represents themselves in a murder case and they just torture the judge with all kinds of nonsense and behaviors and not good stuff. Why is she doing this is the question. One is because she's a narcissist and a psychopath, in my opinion, and she does it because, hey, you can either sit there quietly next to your defense attorney who's not going to get you off anyway, or you can get your day in the sun because, hey, now everybody's going to pay attention to you. And you'll probably extend the trial at least 3 months because you're 3 times as long because you're incompetent. And then, of course, you can always come back later and say, I had an incompetent defense attorney, which happened to me, but I was incompetent. So therefore, I'm appealing my probably the guilty, what they're going to find her guilty. So there are a couple of reasons. One is to get the attention, just to enjoy the day. 2, to extend the trial, and also to blame, get the appeal. And 3, she might actually believe that the jury will feel more, will believe her more as she represents herself than as somebody, she sits there quietly. So, and who knows with the juries these days, it's hard to say. So do I find it annoying? Yes. But the pro se thing is an interesting problem. If I ever go to court on anything, because I've been threatened with lawsuits for libel before by certain people, and I have to say, and they'll tell me, I have a top attorney, I have money to burn, and they're correct, because I've had 3 threats, and all 3 of the threats come from people with a crap load of money and really good attorneys. I can't fight them in court with my own attorney. Why? Because I can't possibly afford to pay for that freaking attorney at $300 an hour, whatever the hell they charge. I can't pay for it. I probably can't get a good enough attorney, and then I'm going to pay through the nose for a half-assed attorney, and I'm probably going to lose anyway because of whatever, because attorney sucks. So I can't afford it. I would go pro se. Now, will that save my butt? I don't know. As a profiler, I think I can get you on the stand, and I can do a very good, I I'll get you on there. And do you want to be on there and have me interrogate you? Do you want me to do that? Because I'm happy to do that. Because one thing I can do is figure out how to conduct that process and get out of you what I would like to get out of you, because I know enough to be able to do that as a profiler. I would rather take a chance with myself. I don't cost anything. I can get in court and I can get that person on the stand and do what I would like to do to get them to tell the truth as opposed to the lies. Some people have said, why don't the McCanns take you to court? Well, they only went after Amazon to get my book off the market. Why won't they take me to court? Well, they'd have to sue me in the United States, first of all, not in the UK. And I will go pro se. And I will get them on the stand. And I have questions that I would like answered. So I would do pro se. And I have the right to do that because we are supposed to be able to represent ourselves if we wish. But it's a tricky area where are you representing yourself because you're capable of doing it and because it's reasonable, or because you're a psychopath who just wants to annoy the living hell out of everybody? I'm pretty sure Lori Daybell promised on me. The latter, not the former. Hold on a second. Why would they admit their guilt? What a psychopath will do, they will admit their guilt if it benefits them. That's the only thing that matters. Will it benefit them or will it not benefit them? They're not interested in the truth. They're not going to feel remorse. That never is going to happen. So if a serial killer admits that, or somebody who kills their wife admits that, or whatever, if they're doing that, they're doing it for their own benefit. So just always keep that in mind. And that is usually true. Defending yourself in a murder trial never ends well. But then again, it probably wouldn't end up much better any other way, especially depending on how much evidence exists. You do want a good attorney. Well, some people do, Jose Baez got certain person out of a death sentence. I mean, out of being found guilty. Casey Anthony, she didn't represent herself. She got Jose Baez. It worked for her. OJ, it worked for him. You know what I mean? It's so if you have a really great defense attorney, yes, it can do you good. There's no question about it. But if you know you're going to go down anyway, maybe you have a better idea for how you want to spend the next few months. So, yeah. Oof. Yeah, so I feel sorry for anybody in that courtroom because they have to deal with that crap. As far as another person who is, this was a question I was asked about, somebody wrote me about and I didn't know this was happening, but I did a show on this, the corn rake murder trial of Todd Mullins. Todd Mullins was found guilty of murdering his wife, stabbing her with a corn rake. And now he wants to get an appeal, essentially. He wants to get another trial. And that's not Todd Mullins, by the way. That is Safarik. I forgot how to pronounce his name now. Mark Safarik. Mark Safarik, he's a profiler. And he says that Todd Mullins didn't do it. Okay? And so what happened here? Let me read you a little bit about the case. I do. If I remember, I'll put link my video below, which I think Todd Mullins is guilty. Or either he or his son is guilty, but one of them is guilty. I don't believe anybody else killed the woman, and I don't believe it was an accidental death because I looked at the actual way the corn rake tines, if you want to call them that, stabbed her, and I can't come up with she fell on that. That's just me nonsense. I think she was stabbed 4 times with that. Anyway, he's fighting for a new trial in his wife's death following a post-conviction relief hearing. 2019, he was convicted of first-degree murder in the death of Amy Mullins. He was sentenced to life in prison without parole. During the criminal trial, they argued that Todd killed Amy after learning of an affair she was having with Jerry Frasher, which is true. The couple's son found Amy in the shed with a corn rake impaled in her back. Todd removed the rake and began driving her to the hospital until a 911 dispatcher told him to pull over and let first responders meet them. Prosecutors argued he called Amy a cheating whore in a 911 call, but people don't necessarily think that's what he actually said. Okay. Prosecutors zeroed in on the Google searches made on the family's iPad, claiming they were made by Todd. And they were very suspicious that they're made by Todd. Like, how do you get rid of cheating women? And they claim, oh, it could have been a son. It could have been something. Okay, maybe it was a son then killed his cheating mother, but his attorneys stated that he is insistent that her death was an accident, and that at trial he didn't have any way to present evidence to a jury that it was an accident. So, okay. He told first responders that she must have fallen on the tines of the corn rake, and we're talking about a big corn rake, that caused her death. Nobody listened to him, including his trial counsel, because nobody believed it, essentially. But anyway, he might have had I don't know if he had a crappy attorneys. I don't. Todd's attorneys, I guess these are the new ones, are asking that his conviction and sentence be vacated and he be given a new trial. Okay, so Mark Safarik, who's a profiler, spoke up. If I remember, I'll link that below. Hired gun by the defense, and paid a lot by the defense, which they made. Definitely the prosecution pointed out. He claims that doesn't think there's proof that she didn't fall on the rake, and he says that Todd did not stage the crime scene to look like an accident. I'm like, nobody ever said he really staged the crime scene, because whoever stabbed her with that thing, either they never pulled it out of her back after she was laying there, or they just stabbed her and she fell and they just dropped the rake down there and then said, oh, look, put her in the vehicle, take her to the hospital because we know she's dead or dying. And if the rake was still in her and they pulled it out, so what? There's no real staging going on here. Either she fell on the rake and Todd pulled the rake out of her back to put her in the vehicle, or Todd or his son stabbed her to death with the rake and pulled it out of her back at some point, whether it be right after the last stab or later to get her into the vehicle. There's no staging going on. I don't know what Safarik is talking about, but he says, oh, there's no evidence. So she could have, seems like it was an accident. I think he's just paid. I was kind of appalled. He gave very bad testimony. In my opinion, he was a terrible witness. So even for the defense, he was a terrible witness. He didn't know. He's like, I don't remember. I'd have to look back on notes. I don't remember this. I don't remember that. It's like, dude, you got paid all this money and you don't remember anything. So I wasn't real impressed with his testimony, even if I thought he was doing, he could have been doing a good job for the defense, but I didn't think he did. Whether they will give him another trial or not, I don't know. So, yes, there are bad things in there and they have times, but you don't fall on it 4 times. She goes in there to grab something and supposedly she collapses and falls right on the tines into her back, and then she gets up and falls on him again. It doesn't make. I'm sorry, the whole thing doesn't make sense. You'd have to watch my video, and I actually give a very fine crime scene reenactment done with a fork and a piece of bread. So I know it was really low. Not a lot of money for this show. Bread, fork. I give you a little show. But I don't believe for a minute that it was an accident. Nah, not going there with that. All right, let's see. I want to talk about. I'm checking my notes here. Which one I want to go to next? Okay, so there's 2 interesting cases where DNA was found years later, and I want to point this one out particularly because. This is something, let's see, here it is. Okay, so this woman was raped and murdered in Maryland, how many years ago? 50 years ago, I believe it was 50. Let me find the story here. And they have now just arrested this guy who's like obviously in his 70s for her murder. Now, I don't know. They didn't say what the DNA was that they had. Eventually it was familial. They had to go through the whole process. It's an amazing process. And I hoped it wasn't touch DNA, because that would, to me, is always somewhat meaningless. It's like he could have helped her off a curb, held her arm and then And he walks away and some other guy kills her, and then he's charged with rape and murder. But apparently I don't think that's what the case is. In 1979, the body of Kathryn Donohue, I'm not sure I'm pronouncing it, Donohue, was found in a parking lot in Glenarden, Maryland. Nearly 46 years later, new DNA evidence led detectives to a man who was charged with rape and murder for her death. I would like to know where the DNA came from. I'm hoping it's not touch. But anyway, still, I think they got the right guy. They arrested 82-year-old, the dude's 82-year-old Rodger Brown for the rape and murder of Donohue. In March of 1979, she was a 31-year-old secretary. She went out to dinner with the co-workers and never returned home. Her body was found by a person walking through the parking lot. On the night of her murder, detectives said they opened an investigation, but her case remained unsolved. For decades, answers surrounding her death remained unknown until detectives initiated a forensic genetic genealogy DNA analysis and new leads were discovered. He was arrested at his home in North Carolina. He was charged with first-degree rape and murder. At the time of the murder, he was in the area where she was murdered. Okay, so in the general area. So it's always important to know whether at least the guy's in the area. When somebody says, well, you know, how do you know it's him? Well, it wasn't like he was in North Carolina the whole time. And he was at least in Maryland. But also, he had been arrested in 1967 for an armed robbery case and served 11 years in prison. He was released in June of 1978, about a year before Donohue's murder. Okay. I find this an interesting case because I want to point something out. Back in the day, when a person commits rape and murder, in my opinion, that dude is a serial killer. He's a serial killer. Because you don't just rape and murder once. Sexual homicide is not a one-time thing. It's something you want to do again. Now, he obviously committed other kinds of crimes. He was kind of maybe an all-around criminal, but I would like to know what other possible sexual homicides he might have committed. They should be looking all back 50 years now and see what else he might have committed. Back in 1972, and the days early, the FBI profilers and other profilers made this claim, essentially that black men killed black women, white men killed white women. That they killed within their own race because they were mad at their mothers or their sisters or something. So they're killing a woman that looked like that woman who did them wrong, or their girlfriend, right? And they were dating only people of their own race. So back a long time ago, yes, that people tended to date more in their own race than they do now. So consequently, yes, if you're pissed off at your girlfriend, well, you might pick somebody who looks like her. That's the theory anyway. It's all nonsense is what it is. The real reason that black serial killers tended to kill black women and white serial killers tend to kill white women is because they tend to kill within their own neighborhoods. They're lazy. They kill down the street. They don't go that far, within a mile. So in the days when neighborhoods were very much segregated, if you had a black guy wanting to kill a woman, it happened to be that most of the women around him were black, and same way with white women. Most of them were white. But it had nothing to do with that they chose that particular woman because she represented something to them. Mostly she represented somebody who was available. Attractive is always nice. Younger is always nice. Most important is nobody sees you do it. So women walking along in the dark, women going down bike paths, jogging, women who live in isolated homes, coming out of clubs late at night. They're not going to go, oh man, you're not my race. I don't think I'm going to rape and murder you. That doesn't cross a serial killer's mind. They're not even necessarily racist or anything else. They just want what's available. So here we have a guy. My guess is he's a serial killer. She came wandering along in the dark, and he saw an opportunity and he took it. Now, what might have happened back in the day is they didn't look for a black serial killer. They don't look for a white serial killer because she's a white woman. Same thing is true for black women. There are some black women who are murdered. They only look for black killers. They shouldn't have done that. So generally speaking, yes, because of location. But if there's that intersection, even back in the day where people of different races, different nationalities crisscrossed, you never know. They're just going to pick somebody. And now, of course, we are seeing over more and more today, you'll see that the race thing doesn't apply very well anymore because most neighborhoods are fairly mixed these days. So, yeah, it's kind of gone out the window. But I wonder whether they never looked for somebody who could have been a serial killer because he was the wrong race. I don't know. I don't know how they dealt with that particular case. but it's interesting. Yeah, that's very annoying. He gets to live free until his 80s, and God knows who else he might have killed off. But yeah, they arrest him now. He's like, oh, good, I got a place to live for the rest of my life. I get food. I get, he's probably not going to be all that bent out of shape. Yeah. So, yeah, he's already in his 80s. He probably won't live that much longer. He's probably not going to get murdered by anybody in prison because I consider him an old man. So he'll probably be okay. It's very sad. Now there's another woman, also a DNA thing, which is also Maryland, and that would be maybe Roseann. Where are you, Roseann? Where'd you go? Okay, hold on a second. Here she is. Okay, this woman was killed 50 years ago. This is really a weird one. I'm really bugged by this one, and I want to see if you have the same feeling I do about this. Hold on. Trying to find it. Okay. No. Oh, am I losing my thing? Jeez, it's going to be one of these days. Hold on. It was here. It really was. Oh, here we go. All right. Also in Maryland, this is a 1975 case, so we're talking 50 years on this one as well. She was 20 years old. Her murder remained unsolved for nearly 5 decades, or did it? The breakthrough came after detectives recovered lost evidence implicating Charles William Davis Jr., who'd been serving a life sentence for other murders since 1978. I don't have a picture of this guy. I don't know who he is, but he's a serial killer, obviously. In 2024, they unearthed a 1981 audio recording of Davis providing details of her murder during an interview with Howard County Police Department detectives. Gave details of her murder. They also found a letter from the state's attorney at the time granting him full immunity from prosecutors in exchange for his cooperation. What? The cooperation in what? Despite Davis's inability to positively identify Sturtz in a photo during the 1981 interview, well, she's just a girl, you know what I mean? I raped and murdered her. I wasn't paying much attention to what she looked like. The case remained his inability to positively identify her, although he had details of the crime and got full immunity. This is such poorly written thing. I can't even understand it. The case remained open until late last year when a cold case detective re-interviewed Davis, presenting him with a different photo of Sturtz that led to a confession. Okay. Current Howard County State's Attorney Rich Gibson reaffirmed the immunity granted to Davis, preventing any charges in Sturtz's murder. Well, I guess he's perfectly willing to confess. Why not? It's not going to do him any harm. I don't know. That's. I wonder what the family knew. Did the family know the guy was the guy way back then? It's very disturbing. It makes no sense. That's just crazy. So I don't understand that case, but there we go. Speaking of some things I don't understand, here's an interesting one. Again, no explanation really. So here's a woman, Sierra Alston. She looks like hell here, but she was a police officer from my own county, mind you. Now, here's a one you could try to explain this one to me. Somebody explain this to me, because I don't understand why the media tells stories and they don't bother to tell you the details and that make any sense. I really don't get it. Let's see. She was, okay, here she is, police officer, arrested in connection. Okay. Car theft related charges against a former Prince George's County police officer, which is my county. Hold on a second. Were dropped Thursday in Arlington, Virginia. Sierra Alston was arrested last October in connection with the theft of 3 BMWs from the SIXT rental car company at Reagan National Airport. Court documents reveal that this case is part of a broader investigation into the theft of 30 vehicles from the rental company's lot. She was linked to 3 of the stolen cars through various pieces of evidence. Now listen to the evidence against her. Her police jacket and documents were discovered in one of the vehicles. I don't know how she's a police officer. She's dumb as crap. Her phone's Bluetooth was connected to the second car, and she was seen with a third car in D.C. through police body camera footage. Last spring, when confronted by an investigator, she allegedly claimed she had taken an Uber and lost her jacket. However, when informed that one of the stolen cars was parked in front of her house, she reportedly denied living there. Following her arrest, she was suspended without pay. But apparently, she's not being charged with anything. Why? I mean, she was charged. The charges have been dropped. She's clearly connected to 3 thefts. How the hell is she not getting convicted? Makes 0 sense. Absolutely do not understand. Well, that is very true. This is WJLA. This is ABC, local ABC News. Why don't they tell us why those charges why it was dropped? I want to know that, because you're telling me that the evidence is extremely strong against her, and then you're saying it's just dropped. Do your job if you're going to be a journalist, for God's sakes. No IQ test for police recruits. Actually, there is a truth to that, in the sense that they're having so much trouble getting police officers these days, any recruits anymore, because of all the hatred toward the police. People in their right minds aren't joining the police force anymore. My daughter just finished up. She's 20. She hit 20 years. She can retire now. When she joined the police force, she got respect. And I don't know that I could recommend anybody join the police force these days, considering not only are you disrespected by the criminals, you're disrespected by the community. And you can, if anything goes wrong, the smallest thing, you can easily end up, charged with something, and in prison, losing your livelihood and your freedom. Your children grow up without you. Is it worth it? And used to do this to be there for your community and protect your community. But if your community doesn't give a damn about you as a police officer, that's why they're not getting anybody to join anymore. And they're severely deficient. The forces are way down on. They have not enough people to handle anything. Everybody whines the police didn't show up. Well, they didn't, because we don't have enough police. People are retiring and not come. People are retiring instead of staying on like they usually do. They don't just retire immediately and say screw it. And they're also lowering standards. In other words, if you want to get people in there now, maybe you shouldn't be so tough on them. So then you're going to get worse police officers. So we kind of screwed ourselves. We've really screwed. Oh, bye, Lisa. I didn't see you coming. Bye, Lisa. Love you too. So I think that's just. Let's see. I think a little more time here. Got some fun stuff in here. Just looking at my notes so I can see where I'm at. Speaking of people who got away with stuff, here's another thing. I'm just amazed. I don't understand our system. I do not. Let's see. This is a woman who she got. Hold on a second. Got to find it. Is this it? Oh yeah. My county again. Prince George's County woman sentenced to 45 days for felony insurance fraud. 45 days. She submitted fake pictures and receipts in support of her false claim of extensive water damage in her home and personal property. Rhonda Keisha Powell, 39 of Upper Marlboro, she lives right down the street from me, was sentenced on two counts of felony insurance fraud. Judge Hill sentenced Powell to 5 years of incarceration on February 20th of 2025. 5 years, but suspended all but 45 days. What the hell? What is the point of giving somebody 5 years on a felony charge and only then giving them 45 days? At the conclusion of her incarceration, 45 days, she will be on supervised probation for 5 years. She is required to pay $58,000 in restitution to USAA, the insurance. She submitted the fraudulent claims in 2020 and 2022. She claimed that a broken pipe in the primary suite bathroom in her home caused flooding, damaging her furniture, electronic devices, clothing, purses, shoes, and jewelry. They paid her $58,000. In the 2022 claim, she alleged property damages of $124,000. However, they denied that claim when it learned that she never reported any broken water pipes or water damage to her landlord, that invoices and receipts she submitted in support of both of her claims have been manufactured or altered, and that photos of alleged damage to the property are actually taken from the internet. She's a crook. She pleaded guilty in 2024 to 2 counts of felony insurance fraud before the Honorable Lawrence Hill Jr. in the circuit court. And then but they let her off. After today's announcement, the Attorney General Brown thanked his criminal division, especially fraud and corruption, because they worked hard to prosecute her. And in spite of that, she got 45 freaking days. What the hell? I don't get it. I'm just blown away. I can't even, I cannot freaking understand. I can't. So, it's just nuts. Yeah. Let's see. I want to just mention tires in case you're wondering about tire thieves. This is an interesting one. I just didn't realize how good they were these days. Tire thieves. There's a shocking rise in wheel thefts. This is also my area, maybe in your area. They are doing this thing. They go through hotel parking lots and residential neighborhoods. Okay. And what they do is this. They take everything, the wheels and the rims. How do they do this? That's what I want to tell you about, because I never knew this. They're professionals, by the way. These individuals, thieves, come at night. It's dark. They're wearing dark clothing, often masked up. They get a vehicle description. Sometimes they get a license plate. A license plate on the car is often stolen. So they use at least a stolen license plate to approach the car they're going to steal from, so that anybody sees them, they got the wrong license plate. They disguise their modes of transportation. Now, what they do is, where's the thing that tells how fast this happens? Where is it? Okay, now I swear I read this, so I got to find it here. The jumping cases has been like going up really fast. What the heck? Okay, hold on. I swear I read this thing. It says how quick it. Oh, maybe it was in the comments. I know I read how quick it was. Let me see. Wheel locks don't work. There are usually 4 guys, 1 on each wheel, that will bang a socket over the plated wheel lock at the same time so as not to wake anyone. 1 fluid timed wax. These are not kids. These are guys who know what to do. All of this is done and the wheels are gone in less than 60 seconds. So these are gangs of thieves. These are not some kid running around trying to steal your stuff. So it's amazing. So I don't know. It just, I didn't realize that 60 seconds, and they take all your car, all your wheels are gone. So yeah, unbelievable. I want to mention this one just because it's fun. This is a woman that said she went out on this date. I just thought it was amusing. I know so every once in a while you like to have a fun one in here. Let me find it. Okay, where'd it go? Where'd it go? Oh, here we go. Okay, so this is the claim, which I'm always amazed at the response to if this really happened, the response is what amuses me. So she said, I just got back from the most horrifying first date of my life, and I need a therapist. I have trauma. Okay, of course, everybody has trauma these days from one date, She says that she had been casual friends on social media with a guy for a while before he asked her out. He seemed nice, looked good in his pictures, and since she was single, she figured, why not? I said, you know what? Yeah, I'll go on a date with you. So she got dressed, drove to the restaurant, which is good. She drove herself to the restaurant, which is the way you should do it. And when she arrived, everything seemed completely normal. He's sitting there all nice, in his little outfit. He's looking good. And I'm like, okay, it's going to be nice. All right. The date started off well. They ordered appetizers, made conversation. She excused herself to go to the bathroom. Hold on a second. It's reloading on me. And when she got back, something was different. There was a book on the table. At first, she thought the waiter dropped off a menu, but no, that wasn't what it was. It was a scrapbook with hundreds of pictures of the two of them, except she'd never taken a picture with him. At first, I was confused and horrified, confused. Where did you get these? Then it clicked, they were AI generated. So this guy, supposedly, I don't know if it's true, that generated these photographs of them as a couple. He kept flipping through the pages of the books, and he said, oh, here we are with our dogs. Here we are with our kids, future kids. Here's a whole life laid out together if we continue dating. She said the guy looked completely straight-faced and normal the whole time, as if pulling the scrapbook out of AI-generated family photos on a first date was totally fine. And by the way, so she says he looks completely normal, but, and then she tried to avoid making the situation worse, playing along until the date was over. I didn't say anything initially because I didn't want to hurt him. She said she smiled and nodded, got through dinner, the whole while thinking she never wants to see him again. So, okay. I'm always amazed. I don't know if this is true or not, but if I'm sitting there and the guy brings out a book of AI-generated photos of us having an entire life together, I'm going to look at him and say, dude, you are creepy as hell. That is not normal. You do not bring a book of fake pictures of the two of us together when we haven't even, this is our first date. I'm out of here. I'm not being nice. Who knows if these stories, a lot of these stories are total garbage. So, because I make them up in order to get clicks, right? So we don't know if that's actually true. So I'm pointing that out. I climb out the bathroom window. I'm always amused though, regardless of the story is true or not, that you sit there and you try to be nice. And this is a problem with women. I mean, a lot of times that women do try to be too nice, that you sometimes have to say, I don't have to be nice. If somebody is acting inappropriate, creepy, I have the right to just say, this isn't cool, and walk away. Especially if you're safe. I mean, if you're safe doing it. I mean, you got these issues if you're in an unsafe situation. It's a whole nother matter. I was in one of those unsafe situations once. It was the creepiest thing ever. I don't know if I wrote this in my book or not, but anyway, I was in California when I was out there during Hollywood days when I was trying to do acting and modeling. And I went out, I met this DJ. He was very handsome, and he invited me back to his place, which I shouldn't have gone to, but I did because I was young and I was 19. So I went to his place, and then it wasn't that he was trying to like rape me or anything, but he started getting very aggressive and saying, you got to be my girlfriend. You're going to be my girlfriend. And I'm like, hey, we just met. He's like, are you going to be my girlfriend or aren't you? And at that point, of course, I got pretty freaked out that this guy was deranged and I wanted to get out of there alive. And the only time I ever did any real acting in Hollywood was right then. I'm like, well, it could work out for us. I mean, you're really handsome, and I loved your DJ stuff, and I did all the acting I could to placate him so I could get out. I did not have sex with him. He did not rape me, but he wouldn't let me go until I told him I would be his girlfriend. So yes, because I was isolated alone with this crazy person, I did act. But if I'd been in a restaurant with him saying that, I would have walked out the damn door. Creepy. Yeah. So, thank God I survived that one, because I always questioned what he would have done to me. And the fact that once I convinced him I was really interested in him and he could call me again, that he let me walk out the door. I don't know. The whole thing was so weird. I still had the vision of he had a nice little apartment. It was very nice. He had nice furniture. He was a good looking dude. He had a job. I mean, scary. Very scary. Oh, so somebody had a plot. The movie with the same plot. Nice story mirroring It's a Wonderful Life. Not AI, but similar. Oh, okay. So you're talking about the like It's a Wonderful Life. What we would be like if we were together. Yeah. Yeah. Call you tomorrow. There is so much AI stuff out there now. It's so good. It's really hard to tell anything is true anymore. And the filters are just outrageous. Not that I'm not using one now, but just a little one. But I've seen young women, they're good looking women, but because of the filters, they're model quality. I mean, I'm on TikTok and almost every girl's model quality. I'm like, dang, and they're not, they do makeup and all that stuff. So they are young, so they tend to look really decent and, in general, but they do throw those filters on. And then they look like, wow, you could get a job as a model for sure. And maybe they can't because what the filters just take them that much further as far as what they look like. So if I go to the top, wait a minute, let me go to the top filter. See if I can look better. Hold on a second. Okay, this is, okay, where is this? Okay, look at me now. Now look at me. Do I look better? They don't have very strong filters on this particular video stuff, but some places, certainly with photos and stuff, you can like jack up the filters like crazy. The problem a lot of times, unless the filter does things below the chin, you can end up with like this 20-year-old face, but below you look like 80. I look the same. Seriously, didn't do much for me. Dang. No, sometimes I have noticed that it was too far. It looked too fakey for me, so I moved it back down just enough to not stir as many wrinkles. Do the duck lip. This is StreamYard. They're very minimal stuff here. There's other programs that have every single filter known to man. This is not one of them. It's just very, very, very mild. And they just started that, I think about maybe 4 or 5 months ago. Because if you look at my earlier videos, don't look at my earlier videos. You're like, dang, you look older then. You looked older 3 years ago. It's because we're at 0 filters, and now I can just do a little bit just so I don't have to look at my face and go, So that's a good point. Where's the individuality gone? I always think back to the days of Barbra Streisand. She had such a unique face and such a unique nose that made her Barbra Streisand. And today, there would be no woman that looked like her. It would all be gone because to get all the plastic surgery and everything. It's really sad in a way. And it's just they're living up to the expectations to look. I look back at what I looked like as a teenager, and I look like a nice teenager. And of course, I do have, the photo that, I have of me when I'm 19, when it was taken by a professional. It's a good looking photo. I was a 19-year-old girl who could be I was trying to model. I was, I did model, but just not overly successfully. But I looked good. But I was 19, and still, even the photographer back then, they had lenses, you know what I mean, that made you just look a little bit better. So, it's very frustrating. I think I'm going to save. Okay, I'm going to save. I want to do this whole thing about psychopathy. I'm going to have to save that because it's a long one, and I want to do that. But just as my last one here, I just want to talk about this because I keep meaning to get to it because it bugs me. Where is this guy? Oh, that's not the right picture. I got rid of the good picture and kept the bad one. Okay, Mr. Howells here with his wife Emma. He was a type 1 diabetic who fell ill as he tried to board his Virgin flight from Harry Reid International Airport. Now, what bugs me about this is I want to talk about personal responsibility, and I did that recent one about was it Robin? I forgot her name now. The one from En Vogue, Dawn Robinson, and she did this whole thing about she's been homeless for 3 years and living in her car, and she blames everybody else for her situation. And to me, what it tells me is that she's the one that's causing the situation, and she's using people and abusing people, and then blaming them when she doesn't do anything to get herself in better shape. Well, this one just bugged me because let me find it. Okay. So, you are responsible for your own well-being as an adult. All right. Family of a 1 in a million dad was found dead in Las Vegas is suing the hotel he was staying in and the medical staff that were supposed to care for him. William Howell, a type 1 diabetic, fell seriously ill while preparing to board the Virgin Atlantic flight to the UK from Harry Reid International Airport. Okay, he fell seriously ill. Now, what happened after he fell seriously ill? Hold on a second. I tried to use a new iPad because this one has been freezing up, and I had this extra iPad. Now the extra iPad won't work properly either. So I may have to get a third iPad because this one is freezing on me and it's driving me nuts. And I don't know why it's doing it. Okay, hold on a second. For God's sakes. I get a white page. Let me check my phone. Oh, there we go. Okay. According to the lawsuit, his flight was delayed as medical help was sought. So he didn't get on the plane, which was a good thing. The Oxford-educated dad was placed in a wheelchair as a preliminary precautionary measure. Okay, so he's feeling poor enough that he's got in a wheelchair. Medics Alexandra Ganjimi and Dominique Johnson arrived on the scene at 8:46 p.m. before taking his vitals and noting his elevated blood sugar levels. The lawsuit alleges the medics, quote, spent no more than 2 minutes before Mr. Howell signed an electronic form refusing medical transport. Right there, it's his fault. They cannot transport you if you don't want to go to the hospital. So they noted, hey, you got your blood sugar is where it's elevated. You're not feeling well. You should go to the hospital. I'm pretty sure they didn't say to him, I know you're not feeling well and you have high, we're not going to take you. No, he signed a form and said, I don't want to go to the hospital. Instead, it says here, court documents claim the ambulance staff did not properly inform decedent Mr. Howell of the consequences of failing to seek attention. Get out of here. He's a type 1 diabetic. He knows exactly what his issues are. They did not properly assess his mental capacity. Okay, now that can be a problem if it affects your brain. Now, I'll give that as a possibility, that he cannot think clearly. Now, they have to really be able to prove it was high enough that he no longer was able to make a proper choice. They did not perform the proper testing. They did not follow policy and procedures. Okay, the one thing about the thinking, maybe I'm going to stand down a little bit on that. Maybe there's something to that. He signed he didn't want to go. He went to the hotel. He went to his room in the hotel, and then they blamed I'll say this. If you're going to blame anybody, if they didn't properly assess his mental condition based on how high the levels were, they might have something on the ambulance staff. But they claimed he went to the hotel, and the hotel just checked him in and let him go to his room. Hotel is not, they're not medics. They run a hotel. That's their job, is to run a hotel. And I'm trying to see the rest of it. Okay, despite looking physically unwell, he was permitted to take an Uber back to the hotel where he'd been staying. Upon arrival, he reportedly fell out of the vehicle. Although hotel staff were informed of his medical condition, they allegedly ignored clear signs he was unwell. He was assisted to his former room by security staff before being left alone. Now, I wonder if they thought he was drunk, because that does happen with diabetics. That has happened. What I really don't understand, though, because he is a person who's lived with this all his life, I don't understand why he refused to go to the hospital. I don't. And if they ignored signs he was unwell, I don't know how they said they were informed of his medical condition. Who informed them of his medical condition? The Uber driver? Or did he say, I'm having a diabetic, whatever, you need to call 911? He obviously didn't say that. Being unwell doesn't mean, somebody's like, oh, I don't feel good. Doesn't mean that the hotel staff is required to do something for you. God knows how many drunk people roll through the hotel all the time looking unwell. So it's a really interesting case that I'm always bothered by all these lawsuits when a person they themselves, they have responsibility for their certain health conditions. And I do know that the whole thing about maybe his mental state was completely off, maybe, but signing the document not to go to the hospital, I don't understand that. If you didn't get on the plane because of your condition, why are you refusing? I think the refusal to go to the hospital is what bothers me. Now, one can claim that he was so messed up in his head he didn't want to go to the hospital, but meanwhile he's able to get an Uber, because he has to choose to get an Uber, get to the hotel, not want 911. If he's supposedly falling out of the Uber, he still doesn't want to go to the hospital. I don't know. The whole thing is just really strange to me. I'm curious what the real story behind a lot of that stuff is. It can be scary. That is true, but there's so many things along the way, which I would think an adult who has this kind of condition would, I don't know. I find it really strange that everybody else is at fault. So, I mean, people who run ambulances, if you're a medic, you usually have some understanding of those things, but you can't force people to go to a hospital. So, depending on what the status was of his elevated anything, they probably said you should go to the hospital. And he said, I don't want to. What are they supposed to do? You can't make somebody go. I don't think that's. I don't think you can do that, regardless. I mean, I don't know how you make. This is the interesting thing. When the case I did about the guy that got shot in the head, the police took him to the police station, and he said, I was shot in the head. And they didn't believe him. Well, they didn't believe him because when they first came to the house, they offered to take him to the hospital, and he didn't want to go. And unless you have absolute proof that they can't think properly, some absolute proof, it's sometimes things are just unfortunate. But the days of the lawsuit things sometimes just get so out of whack. So I understand the pain one suffers when one loses a loved one, but is it always everybody else's fault? Or did that person have responsibility to take care of themselves, especially if they were a type 1 diabetic? He's not young. He's had that all his life. He knows exactly what he has to do to stay safe. So is it really everybody else's fault? And that would include, they're suing that. I say they're suing everybody. So I don't know. It bothers me. Fear of medical personnel. Well, he's not that old. He's like 37. He's pretty young. So, I'm just always, when I see these things where everybody else is to blame, I'm always curious about where the truth lies in that, and where we ourselves take responsibility for some things that, of course, I may be going to jail for hit and run. Hopefully not, but, but I don't know. I just think people sometimes, they just so aggressive with the legal system. It makes it very frightening. The whole legal system is frightening in that sense, because almost anything you say, anything you do can be a problem. And yet, on the other hand, we allow horribly bad behavior in other circumstances, which is crazy. So it's a confusing world. That's all I can say. I'm not going to. Sounds like a scammer. Well, I think she's a scammer. Yeah, I know. I'm not. I don't know. They left that one down. So I suppose it'll come down to the insurance company and whether the supposed teeny scratch is something I'll have to pay for, some kind of. But again, then what is she going to claim? She's got to replace the entire side door and she can't buff it out. You know what I mean? So am I going to get completely screwed? Is it going to be, instead of $100, is it going to be $1,000? These things are just the cruelty of people toward other people that aren't trying to be mean. They're not trying to, I'm pretty sure the ambulance people wanted the guy to go to the hospital. They wouldn't have purposely not taken him to the hospital. And I'm sure the hotel staff wouldn't want the guy to die on their property if they'd known something was really wrong. And this crazy lady in the parking lot, she really thought I hit her door so hard. She could have just simply got out of a car and said, "Can we take a look?" And I would have said, "Sure." I already told her I'd looked and there was nothing there. So she could have just said, "I want to look with you." Okay, fine. I would have done that. But she was shrieking and shouting at me and calling me names and, just so outrageous. And I just think people really, it's sad. We've lost a lot of civility. And then we use the court system to get people and go after people, and just the most vicious ways. Just makes me very sad. So she knows someone in the car industry. That's possible. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, that's true too. In Germany, such people collect the insurance sum and then don't get something so small fixed, but keep the money. Yeah, and who knows? The scratch. If there's a teeny weeny scratch, could it have been caused by my car? Maybe. But then again, maybe she should, her car is too big for the damn parking space. People can't get out of their own damn vehicles. So the fact that my car touched her car and caused a teeny scratch is so minor, it's ridiculous. And a lot of it is her fault. And I don't know whose fault it is. I mean, I was getting out of my car and I was legitimate in my space, and unless I crawled out of my car sideways because I tried. I mean, I opened the door and tried to come out, and it just, then again, how many scratches is she could already have a scratch on her car. And then she's just saying, oh, you caused that scratch. And she found a scratch. Now you'd have to measure exactly where I was, where the door would have hit, and was it the right level? I mean, it's so insane. But her behavior toward me, I should be able to go after her for threatening me, stalking me, because, she did. And that was far worse than anything I caused. It's just people sometimes their just behaviors, just terrible. Yeah. So anyway, that's it for today. I'm going to stop here at 6 o'clock. And I will see you guys probably on Sunday for the next show. And I don't know what I'm doing yet. But again, if you haven't seen that movie, that series, I really liked it. And I don't say that very often. So where's the picture of it again? Don't I have a picture of it here? Oh, yeah, this one. Adolescence. I think this is a really great movie. And go watch my video on it as a series. It's a 4-part series. It's so different than anything I've seen in a long, long time. I was very impressed. So go check out my video on that. And if you haven't been over to Dear Profiler Pat, do go over there, subscribe to that channel and watch the stuff so I can get this dang thing, that one monetized, so I keep doing it. Because YouTube is getting tougher and tougher these days, harder and harder to earn even minimum wage. So, and I like what I'm doing and I like to be here. So, I certainly always hope that I can continue doing what I do if I don't have to pay out a ton of money on a scratch. So anyway, thank you guys for being here. I very much appreciate it. And I will see you soon. Bye.